Okay, looks like we're live. Look, see, due to popular demand, Mimsy, also like Mimsy's demand, Mimsy just wanted to sit there, is now gone to sleep. Might ignore us for the course of the live stream. Who knows? Who knows if she'll interact at all? Normally does. She'll sort of, pay a little bit of attention to what's going on. But yes, time for me to go and do the old chat pop-out thing so I can keep track of if anyone's actually in the live broadcast and saying anything to me. But at this stage, it's just you and me, whoever you are watching this back later. This is a special time for just us that no one gets to know about until people start popping in like they are now. Hi, 24, how you going? That's the abbreviation of 244444G. Hi. And hi, Pat. And there's a worthless racist who's out from the start. Le Heretic, I'm 10 minutes late. Yes, I was organising various things about the hoose. But yes, but I'm here now. I'll be here for a while, till about 10, almost 2 hours, around about. Hello, Miss Foxification. 24, you started a landing page. Good idea. Hey, Jahatma, how's it going? Did I say hello, Tara? I'm not sure, but I'm saying it now. Sometimes the names pop up, and I think I've said something, and I possibly haven't. Watching my webcam seems to be going in and out of focus. Is that, or maybe I'm having a stroke. That could be it. So yes, dealing with Darren Hinch. Oh yeah, Darren Hinch, famous Australian broadcaster, fell out of his car and hit his head. And he's not a young man, and a fall with a strike to the head at his age can be a very serious thing. Hey, Celtic King, good to see you. Hey, Lucas, I've been fine, thank you. Oh, I see 24. You've got things ready and you're going to publish on Sunday. This is the way to get going. Get yourself. It really is. Okay, you're saying I should switch. I don't even know if this bloody thing has controls. Where's my control panel? Here's a control panel. What can I do? Can I do autofocus? No, I can't. Doesn't seem to let me do anything. That's really weird. Oh, wait, maybe it's camera. Oh, no, wait, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I think I just pushed something I shouldn't have. You know that feeling where it's like, what does that button do? And then you click it and it was instantly a mistake. That's what I just did. So we'll forget about that for now. Yes. As long as my voice is clear. Oh, no. Locust, when you say latest bearing video, how recent is latest? Oh, Toby, what am I drinking? It's an odd color. Oh, look, I'm looking at the color it's coming up on the laptop. It looks like the urine sample of a dehydrated person. If your urine looks like that, see a doctor or drink more water. It's got some green in it and it's got some red in it, so it's got an orange color. How do I hope so? No, okay. Hello everyone. I'm old. I fucked up my shoulder just by how I was sleeping. Okay, it's just that simple. Heretic, you got an RPG where protagonists are anti-fascists attempting to overthrow the Fourth Reich. Yay! Nice. I like it. Locust, you're right. I mean, There's the love that dare not speak its name going on with that dude, I think. I mean, seriously. What seriously, if he's done another one, he really, really needs to get a life. I don't know if you're seeing the old one. A month or so ago. He did one a month or so ago. I don't think he hasn't done anything since that, has he? Has he? That would be really sad. Yeah, I think unless you know something I don't, you might have seen the video he did about a month ago. But yes, everyone needs a drink time. Hey Tendo, how's it going? Uh, yeah, I managed to a couple of years. I think it was a couple of years ago. I managed to embarrass sad fuck of ass hat into not making more videos about me because he kept making videos about me. Like he made 3, maybe even 4, but it was like the third one. I was like, dude, okay, I've been ignoring you for a year, and you're still obsessing about me. I'm starting to get a vibe from you. I honestly, flattering. Don't actually swing that way. AZ was on this video with me. I was going, look, you want to find someone interested, you know, switch your insatiable desire to AZ. Might reciprocate. Yeah. Well, I like this. Still, the heretic. Work with the skills you have. You don't have to work with Unity. Yeah, just do something with a RPG game maker. That's cool. Evening, Charlie. 24. You're right. Some people have done amazing stuff with the Unreal Engine. Not to be sniffed at, the Unreal Engine. A lot of people have done very good stuff with that. My stepson, Mrs. Angry's son, is what's he doing? He likes. I'm trying to remember. Is it StarCraft? Something? He's doing a campaign for it. He's very into it. Agro Pixie, your new housemate's a friend of AZ. That's nice. It's good to know. This is a small world, really. If you end up having a housemate that knows someone else, you know. Actually, God, I should have. Oh, where's my phone? I don't even have my phone input. I should have called or texted AZ. I was expecting him to call me because he went into hospital, as I mentioned last week, for what should have been hopefully a pretty straightforward procedure. But I haven't heard from him. But sometimes he just zones out. But I don't like when there might be health things with him. I don't like contacting him because he often has a lot of trouble sleeping, and I don't want randomly to have called him or texted him just at the moment he's managed to get to sleep. And I've told him that. So I said, yeah, you need to contact me because I don't want to interfere with your rhythms, or if you finally manage to get to sleep for the first time in 3 days, I don't want to disrupt that. But then I think sometimes time gets away from him and he doesn't realize that he hasn't messaged me in a week. So and I have told him, if you go a long time without contacting me, I tend to think you're dead, because that's it. Tara, if you think that contacting his boyfriend would be less disruptive, not really, with them living in a little studio, 1-room thing. If I made his phone ring, it would be just as disruptive. So, yes. Oh my God, you're helping with a game called Ab Initio, Latin for the beginning. Go around Australia 1945 trams, American soldiers, nuke and kill Masonic bankers. Okay. That sounds interesting. Musical aviator. Oh no. Well, talking to your work crush is more important than watching the live stream. Stick with that, buddy. Yes. Yeah, great, Pixie. If you praise the wizards to keep AIDSy alive, you do what his black magic group do, you know, sacrifice a black goat under a full moon. I'm not even joking. Although Heretic, you did an RPG parody of Fallout called Super Armageddon 2077. Like it. 24. Interesting question. Does anyone think a dead game that made millions back in 2006 would accept a rights offer for 20,000? Dude, ask. You never know. That's the big thing. Ask and see what happens. So the big question, what do I think about the American students doing a walkout, strike, protest? Brilliant. The most action I've seen on the gun control front in America in like ever. And it's fascinating to watch just how fucked people can be. Various media talking heads and mouthpieces for the NRA just saying the kids are being manipulated and used by the left. They're just kids. How could they do it? It's like they don't understand the kids don't want to be shot. It's like, well, why would kids arrange a big protest like this? It's like, because they don't want to be shot. It's not a conspiracy. It's not shadowy people in the wings. Obviously, I reckon there will definitely be people on the left who will co-opt it. But the idea of, oh, what's behind all these kids being in this protest? It's not right. They don't want to be shot, basically. Miss Foxification, you raise a good point. With any business deal, get a lawyer in. So yeah, 24. If you're trying to buy a property, yeah, get a lawyer who's experienced in such things to help you. Ah, okay. Now we're talking about Russians, yeah, killing a spy in the UK and escalating everything. Miss Foxification being the voice of a caution and doubt, saying Novichok defeats the chemical protection they were wearing, kills very fast. There's no way this is state sponsored unless someone screwed up massively. Look, I don't know. Obviously, it's just there is a track record of Putin and the Russian regime killing people they don't like. And it isn't surprising that someone who didn't like Putin dies and well, he's murdered, and people assume the Russian state's directly involved. Obviously there is no evidence of that at this point, but I guess people are wondering, well, if it wasn't them, then who was it? And the world gets very complicated when various uh, um, uh, what can I say? When various, particularly authoritarian governments, whip up the populace with jingoism and nationalism, often people will act in an extreme way that they perceive the state wants them to without actually being a state agent. Uh, and that's where it gets complicated. If it turns out that this dude who got killed was killed by someone who's not a part of the actual official Russian government or government machine, but someone who thought he was acting in his hero's Putin's interests, what do we say then? And you're right, Miss Foxification, there are so many random things, different terror groups, people who say they have nerve gases and poisons and whatnot. There's so many fuck-ups in the world. There are so many shitheads whose sole goal is to cause trouble. It's really hard to know what's going on. Pat, what's the safest area in Melbourne? I don't know. I think you're falling into stereotypes if you start saying some places are safe now. This suburb where I moved to a year ago, probably here. Holy fuck, it's quiet. I mean, I had Aidsy and his boyfriend Jason over one night. Everyone else from my house was away. So let's have a party while no one's here. And we went out roaming the streets at about 3 or 4 in the morning, and it was so fucking quiet. Like, I used to live like in St Kilda, and East St Kilda, which is a far more rambunctious neighborhood. This place is so fucking quiet. I lived in Sunshine years ago, and Sunshine can be a bit tenuous. I lived in Footscray. Footscray can be a bit tenuous. Everywhere has moment. My fucking neighbours had someone break into their house while they were home. Actually, I guess that's a home invasion. They got hit up. Dr. Popperbong, hello. The heretic. I thought Russians killed the targets with ricin. No, what they used who's the guy they got with the radioactive isotope? I mean, Russians used all sorts of things to kill people at various stages. Miss Foxification, you're not wrong when you say there is a lot of scary people out there and a lot of things to be worried about. The world is a complicated place. Tara, there's been reports of some Hitler group putting up posters in Sydney about killing Jews. That happens all the time. Even in my neighbourhood, I saw some fascist flyers stuck up recently. That was him, Miss Foxification, Livchenko. And polonium, yeah, put polonium in his tea. Hell, you know, within Russia, they just shoot people. Or if it's a really rich oligarch who's got on the wrong side of Putin, he charges them with a crime and jails them. And the fun part about that is you can't be a rich oligarch in Russia without being a criminal. So there's always something to charge you with. But you think the northeast and eastern suburbs are the safest. I'm really bad with Celtic King. You're an angry wanker. Don't hurt yourself. Don't wank too angry. Oh yeah, Jatmer, it is. It's well, yeah, getting fascist stuff. And I'm in a largely Jewish neighborhood. And having Jehovah's Witnesses come to the door is ridiculous. So yeah, but then again, you know, the fascists are assholes. Sometimes they'll do a dumb thing because they're stupid. Sometimes they're doing it to be deliberately inflammatory. Yeah, misfoxification. I mean, the chances of us ever knowing for sure who killed this dude and why are fucking slim to none. It's going to come down to what you believe based on what's probably quite limited evidence. What happens if you make Putin laugh? Do you go to jail or do you get rewarded with a quick and painless death? Yeah, that's, I mean, oh my God, that just popped in. There's a new film coming out which looks really funny, The Death of Stalin, and is apparently being banned in Russia. Like Putin's declared it to be anti-Russian propaganda. It just looks funny what I've seen of it, just playing on that the paranoia of the Stalin regime, and you know, who's going to get killed and who's going to seize power and all that sort of stuff. And there's some really good actors in it. And the bits I've seen look really funny. I definitely want to see The Death of Stalin. Celtic King, how many times have you told me your Pornhub account? A lot. In fact, I have not had AZ over here since you sent me your username. Next time he's over here, I am going to show him. So then it will be up to him whether or not he looks it up. But I am going, because you shouldn't. Cornhub's better. Is that like a farmer's porn network? And there's a picture everyone keeps sharing with a meme of a giant dildo that's like a head of corn, it has all the little nubs like corn on it. Heretic, the thing is, you're right that with Russia being anti-communist like fashion, they've just stayed a totalitarian state. It's just they've changed the packaging a bit, you know, from communist totalitarian to nationalist totalitarian. Misfoxification, yes, A Death of Stalin is a comedy. It looks really, really funny. Hey, heathen, what happened to my cat? Nothing, she's asleep. Where is she? She's asleep. Meow. She says, leave me alone, I'm asleep. She doesn't want to be used for entertainment. Nice, shelf warmer. Prawn hub for fishermen. Maya, beetroot is on the backbench instead of Joe. Look, I don't, well, actually, I know why the LNP is hiding from any investigation into the beetrooter for corruption, because they'll find it. Cat was asleep. She's gone back to sleep. She might wake up at some point. If she sticks her head up, she might demand attention. Oh, yes, and hello, you show former. Uh, uh, my other cat, who just lives outside at night, Shadow, I should have shot a video of her the other day. She's super weird. She goes out all night and sleeps on my bed all day. And it's really important to her that she gets into the bedroom. I was in the lounge room. I was either on the computer or watching TV in the morning, and I heard this really insistent meowing coming from up the hall. And what had happened is that Mrs. Angry had shut the bedroom door, so little cat Shadow couldn't get in. And Shadow was really affronted by this and was meowing really loudly because it was super important she got to the bedroom. And when I walked up the hall and she saw me and she thought, I've got to quickly say, bye, Miss Foxification, getting cyclone ready. I hope it's not too bad. I hope you get some relief from that awful weather. But yeah. So yeah, anyway, so I walked up the hall to where the cat Shadow was outside the bedroom door, and she saw me and thought, this human will let me in. And she suddenly went mental, like started meowing really loudly and really insistently, and was climbing up the door like, oh my God, I have to get in the door now. This very second, I have to get in. I have to get in. And I wish I'd videoed it because it was really funny. But now I've got it in my head. If that setup ever happens again, I am going to video it because I think it would be pretty funny. Did I? The Aurora Australis at this time of year, at this latitude, localized in my kitchen. Can you see it? No. No. Everyone's noticing Celtic King has sex on the brain and loves to say provocative things. That's a thing. That is a thing, and you know, I think the answer is to just roll with it. You're right, Shabba. Sideshow and the main show. It's all a rich tapestry. That's why I have the chat going. I mean, wouldn't it be weird if I didn't look at the chat one night? But it never saves. I don't know if there's any way to save the chat. No, it never saves the chat, which is really sad. But does it? Oh, yeah. I don't know if I could make it work. Like one night, do a live stream, and not look at the chat at all, and then after the live stream, go back and read through the chat and see what went on. That would probably be weird. The Heretic, have I heard the Sideboard song by Chaz and Dave? I'm not familiar with it. I guess there's a reasonable chance I've heard it, but I can't think of it. Oh, now we've brought up rubbing one out while watching. Okay. See, that's what I say. For all I know, for all you know, maybe I am. You only see me from up here. If my shoulder moves around a lot, what could it mean? Could mean anything. But yes. Oh, speaking of shoulder, I don't think I finished the story. Why is my shoulder fucked up? Because I'm old, and it's the whole thing. Because couples will know this problem, the spooning thing, and I'm trying to be big spoon, and I'm on the right hand side of the bed if you face it, and Mrs. Angry's there, and so I'm lying like this, and she's here, and don't know what to do. Don't know what to do with this arm. Isn't that a problem? Like, should it be down there, up there? And I had a habit of doing this, and that's apparently a bad idea because after a couple months of doing that, I fucked up this shoulder, and I ignored how painful it was for too long. I ignored for a couple of months that it was causing me a lot of pain, and the pain wasn't going away. But it got to the stage where basically the pain was quite excruciating. So I've been going to physio for a couple of weeks to get it worked on. Brody, hello, thank you. I'm glad you like my videos. I'm glad you've dropped in for a live stream. Oh, it's not fair, Jatma. Some people are wanking and you're stuck trying to write a journo article. It is pretty goddamn rough. Well, I don't think we've ever had a live stream where we didn't talk about sex. So, but we tend to cover a lot of things. Scott, your missus sleeps on the arm. Yeah, well, she used to, like, my arm was like under her neck, like between her shoulder and her neck, and that got uncomfortable. And so then I put it up, and oh man, that was a mistake. And it still fucking hurts. It's interfering with my sleep at the moment. It's not as bad because I've had a physio working on it for a couple of weeks, and I hope it goes away completely soon. So yeah, I am hoping my shoulder improves. But this is all about being old. How did I hurt my shoulder? By sleeping. It's just, you get to a certain point, anything to. Like I was saying about Darren Hinch falling out of a car and hitting his head. That can be life-threatening. Well, it can be life-threatening at any age, but as you get older, it's much more of an issue. But yeah, which actually just reminded me of something. I say his age. Darren Hinch. How old is Darren? 74. Okay. Man, he uses more hair color than me. Okay, he's more than 20 years older than me, which is to say I use hair color, for those who've never noticed, in some of my videos. I'm really grey because I'm not very efficient or regular with my hair color. But I do for fun color my hair. Celtic here, Dad broke ankle getting out of bed. That shit happens. Dr. Popov, quit your job. Good on you. I quit a job last year. I'm a contractor, but I left one place because I thought it was going to kill me. Like my mental health was suffering, and my physical health was starting to suffer. I thought I was going to drop dead one day. The stress of this job was just fucking ridiculous. Oh, David, ICQ, old school. Yes, used to be on ICQ all the time. Larry, what's my take on vigilantism? Do I think it's more effective than actual law enforcement? No. I think vigilantism amplifies all the problems with state-based law enforcement, because obviously there are lots of flaws in law enforcement. But when individuals start to go, I'm going to take it into my own hands, sometimes they might go after people who deserve it, but it gets into people's personal prejudices. And no, I think vigilantism is a bad idea. So, Pat Talks, what's my IQ? No idea. I'm not actually interested because, well, it would depend on what measurement system you used. And realistically, all IQ tests measure is how well you do IQ tests. They're always culturally biased. It doesn't measure how effective you are as a person. It doesn't measure how effectively you use your brain. It measures how effectively you take an IQ test. And it's only useful as a benchmark against people who have exactly the same upbringing as you. So yes, IQ tests are grossly overrated. Sorry, Anna, I would agree with you about the emotional intelligence being important. Heretic, you're saying anti-fascists are the primary dealers of vigilante justice. Okay. I wasn't even punching Nazis is vigilante justice. Okay, I wasn't even thinking that. I thought you were thinking straight on Punisher, short of vigilante. If you say punching Nazis and shutting down Nazis is vigilante justice, then I'd be in favour of that. Are you smiling, nerd? And Mofo, oh, Peter Dutton has a heart now. Yes, he's open to refugees so long as they're white. I mean, could he appeal more blatantly to racists than to keep hanging shit on refugees who are fleeing war zones that our foreign policy is responsible for, and then to go, because there is some bad shit happening in South Africa at the moment with the government saying we're going to evict white farmers from their land, and a lot of the white farmers fear their lives are in danger. They fear it's all going to go to shit like Zimbabwe did. And Peter Dutton's going, I think we should take some white South African farmers as refugees, which is, they're facing potentially a bad situation. But he has derided refugees who are straight up fleeing war, torture, persecution, attempted genocides, and said they're not real refugees. And out of the blue, with no actual evidence, he's gone, oh, white South African farmers are in terrible danger. We should take them as refugees. Yeah, Tendai, I hope South Africa doesn't go down the Zimbabwe road where they fuck everything up, because it's looking worrying. Shellformer, you raise a good point about Stephen Hawking. 24 hours how I feel about, well, he's dead. But he lived 30, 40 years longer than you would expect someone in his circumstance to live. So it's quite stupendous that he lived as long as he did. But yeah, so, yeah, the heretic. You don't have to convince me that the Nazis are being protected by state apparatus. Yeah, which is why I said when you said, "Am I in favour of vigilantism?" and I said no, I didn't realise you were counting standing up to Nazis and taking out Nazis as vigilantism, which I guess, yeah, it is. But I am in favour of that. It's broader vigilantism that I'm not in favour of. Yes. John, you're probably right about Dutton maybe having white South African friends, or maybe Dutton's just racist filth. I mean, that's the other possibility. 24, you asked the big questions. Nazis in 2018. What the fuck is wrong with the world? Well, things are cyclical, apparently. And I don't know, maybe shit will settle down. Maybe it's going to get worse. If nationalism keeps rising in Europe, we got some pretty bad precedents for what happens when nationalism is on the uptick, namely persecution, large-scale state-sanctioned murder, and war. Tara, the only guy who's touched your bum is an endocrinologist. I had a doctor once. I had an adverse reaction to some medication, and we didn't know what it was, and did blood tests and whatnot. I did all these things, and then I go, well, now for the bad news. Uh, as a total test, now I'm going to have to stick my finger up your bum, and I'm like, not buying me dinner first, just straight. Okay, if you got to do it, you got to do it. But the important thing is to relax. Safa, Cold War 2. We will be super lucky if it stays a Cold War. It's looking disturbingly like it has the capacity to be a hot war. You're right, Heretic. When we've got things like climate change and wage inequality, healthcare reform, then you got to worry about people who are actually into genocide. And it's like, all right, that's bad. Yes, yes. We have a few with existential threats to us, natural, human caused, and yeah, just war or ultra violence of some form or the other. It's cheery, isn't it? It's cheery time we live in. I feel like we had this little period, like the 90s into the noughties, where maybe things didn't seem as bad. Now it's all gone backwards again. Pat talks. Do I think private schools are overrated? Yes, yes, I do. I think private schools are the fucking upper class trying to preserve a class system. I think you get better education results from state schools. I think you get better value for your education dollar from state schools. I think private schools are an overrated pile of shit. 24. Lowest sperm count. Who's lowest sperm count? I haven't counted my sperm lately. I don't know if it's all right. But yes. Jahat, mate, you say there was a Kath and Kim episode where Kim says all the Aboriginals should go back where they came from. Yeah, it's only funny because that's how people actually think. Leratic, that is not a bad presidential election platform. Let's kill the Nazis so then we can deal with the other important stuff. You're saying private school kids get a shock when they get to uni. Well, the private schools, they're so insular. I really worry about it. I just think they're fucking negative, basically. Oh, you want us to get to Mars, Leratic? We've got to find our way off this rock before we destroy it. Yes, that is a big question. I am read a really interesting series of books called the Long Earth series, co-written by Terry Pratchett, famous for the Discworld books, and another writer. And it posits this, it's basically a parallel dimension thing, and people work out how to skip between the dimensions, the alternate Earths. But our Earth is the only one that has humans on it. And evolution went either slightly differently or super differently on the other Earths. But you can sort of skip out in the frontiers on these apparently endless series of Earths. It's very, very interesting things. Safa, who do I think will win Batman? The Joker. The Joker will pull out a surprise and win in Batman. For those who don't know, Melbourne, the city, was founded by a guy called John Batman. It was like Batman, and there are a few places are named after him, like Batman Lane, Batman Hill, and there's an electorate called Batman. Batman, if you want to say, but it's hard to resist saying Batman. And there's an election there soon, maybe this weekend. I haven't been paying that much attention because they're very annoying. And it's an inner city left-wing area. So the Conservatives don't stand a chance. But the Greens are running against Labor. And of course, the Libs are trying to destabilise Labor as much as possible. So they'd love it if the Greens got the seat because that diminishes Labor's power. See you, Tendai. Thank you for dropping by. David, you're absolutely right that inequality tends to fuel nationalism because you blame the other. The weirdest thing to me is people don't see that the ones telling them about the other is responsible for, they're the ones who are actually responsible for your problems. Kind of blows my mind a bit. Sure, former Batman Avenue and ACDC Lane. Yes, but again, anything Batman in Melbourne is not named after the comic character Batman. It's named after John Batman. But ACDC Lane is actually named after the rock band ACDC. The Heretic, pick of any planet to live on. That seems to me a strange question because this is the only one we know we can live on at the moment. Any type of biome, you're going to have to explain yourself a bit better on what you mean, how you see my choices being that. Fiore, you drank too much Coke and you're going through the after sugar rush. You see, I drink the sugar-free version of Pepsi, the Pepsi Max. So I'm just overloading myself with chemicals as opposed to sugar. But yes. 24, we might have real proof of a parallel universe because of the James Webb Space Telescope. I don't know. I've not heard that. But I mean, some very smart people, way smarter than me, have made quite a compelling case for the existence of parallel universes. So who's to know? I mean, the big question, of course, is can we ever either cross over into or communicate with a parallel universe? That's one of the big metaphysical questions, I guess. Okay, biomes, region, the planet 111, forest, mountains, ocean. Okay. Okay. I kind of like the coast. So my preference would be a temperate coastal area, sort of like north coast of New South Wales. Not right on the coast because you're too susceptible to extreme weather if you're right on the coast. But I do like coastal areas. We're saying bottled water has microscopic plastic in it. Who knows? Who knows if it's microscopic? How do we know? 24, you're doing the man shakes. Yes, to lose weight. This like things like what's the one that they advertise a lot on TV? Trying to remember, but the trendy one with the nerds is Soylent. But there's always been those diet shake things. They really work for some people. It's they're not really a long-term solution, but they really work. You know, Heretic Europa without the ice. Yeah, basically, I don't want ice. I'm not a fan of extreme winters. Basically, David Hill, Melbourne was never called Batmania. John Batman wanted people to call it Batmania, Batman, but the only official name's ever been Melbourne. 24. No, yeah, definitely the shakes help. They definitely help. They help a lot of people, and they particularly help in the short to even medium term. But not many people find them to be a long-term solution. So it's like it gets you to where you want to go, or gets you on the way to where you go. Then you can sort of change the other aspects of your life and keep going, hopefully. But yeah, whatever works for you is a good thing. We're talking about the Batman thing. There's a police precinct in Batman, and I know, thanks to the Victoria Police social media account on Twitter, that there is actually a constable Bruce Wayne on the Melbourne police force, because they happily reported one day that Constable Bruce Wayne dropped into Batman police station. So I think they were really pleased they got to say that. They're you want to be on an ice planet to settle into a fortress of solitude. Does anyone have one of those words that you just say or spell wrong all the time? I just think of this because Heretic used to solitude. For ages, I used to say saltitude, like there was an extra T in there, and that's how I would spell it too. Saltitude. And I have no idea where that came from, why I thought there was another T in there. But for a really long time, I used to say saltitude until someone said to me, "Why the fuck are you saying saltitude? It's solitude." Is it? I'll look it up. Oh, look, it's solitude. 24. No, I don't watch Dragon Ball Super, so I can't really weigh in on anyone winning in Dragon Ball Super. I don't even know what characters are in it. Don't think anyone in my house does. Now, Young Mixed Angry has been watching Voltron on Netflix because there's like a 5th season of that coming out. So he's trying to get through all the previous 4 seasons, ready for the 5th season. Yeah, see, I think you'd spell argument with the E from argue in the middle. I think we all have certain blind spots, and it can be really. No, 24. Don't be sorry. I crossed wires. Maya, do I think Beetrooter on the backbench will drag down the entire Turnbull government? No, I think Turnbull will drag down the Turnbull government. I mean, look, seriously, they're dead in the water. They're going to get slaughtered at the next federal election. I mean, they're just, at the moment, they're just desperate to stop it being a bloodbath. Like, you know, a worst case scenario for them that they have to seriously consider is that they could end up with less than a third of the seats in the parliament, and not have the numbers in the Senate either. You know, they if they keep going downhill, they could be wiped out for a couple of elections. But you can't keep up with Vegeta killing the planet and bringing it back, being evil and killing, being nuts. No. Yeah, I mean, I've watched the old Dragon Ball, but I was never particularly into it. It was mildly entertaining. I just used to always make fun of it because when they had those big fights and someone's going, "I'm building up my power," and there would be an enormous power thing. It would go like for a whole episode. someone going, his power level's over 9,000. While he's doing that, just run up and punch him in the nuts. Like if he's going to spend half an hour going, my power's here, just run up and punch him in the nuts while he's doing that. That'll fucking distract him. 24, you're not wrong when you say all fan bases are cancerous. All fan bases definitely have cancerous elements in it. So, oh my God, Le Heretic, you're being rickrolled at 2 a.m. That is pretty goddamn harsh. Short form is a bad joke. Written drafts need good spell checkers. Okay, good. 24, that's the whole point. Not a fair fight. If someone's got to spend half an hour building up their power, just fucking do something to them in the meantime. You see, if you're already saying this as Saiyans want the challenge to let the power go forward, that's why I wouldn't muck around. It's like, oh, he's doing that thing. Run up and punch him in the dick really hard. And it's just like, oh, David, you have a Batman bridge in Tasmania and a Batman fork in a hotel. Yes, I think John Batman did stuff in Tasmania as well as Victoria. Oh no, I'm out of drink. Should I get another drink? I think I should, but what should I drink? That's the big question. One of my donut flavored vodkas. I get some ice. Step 1, get ice. Oh, sorry, Maya, you brought up a good one. Yeah, Australian politics has had some real moments like this. Michaela Cash went really ballistic in Senate estimates like last week or so. It's all because dodgy shit in her office and moving staffers around, and she was worried about getting caught out because I reckon she's this close to getting caught out really seriously. Locust, you have Philo and you hate Duterte. Yeah, I've made videos about Duterte. He's a scumbag. I'm gonna get some ice. We'll come back. What'll I get? Hello, Mimsy. Okay. Back. Sorry, Laird. You're saying your ancestors are Scottish, as are mine. Our racist scholars tell you they were descendants of Scythians who ate the hearts of the victims. So just one thing to say, Kalima. Yeah, bloody. People do like to bag the Celts just because they had a fairly wild tribal lifestyle for like a really long time. So, lecture, we're talking about Duterte, the Philippines president. It's really interesting that the Philippines seems to like electing quite extreme leaders on a semi-regular basis. Duterte, if you've not heard of him, he's the guy who decided drugs are bad, okay, but his answer, rather than just saying drugs are bad, he said, we should kill all the drug dealers, which would have been bad enough in and of itself. But he encouraged people to take the law into their own hands. And of course, that's like open slather to just kill someone you don't like and say, well, he was a drug dealer. And that happened and is still happening. But Duterte actually took it further and said you should kill drug addicts as well. He's a bad person. Do I ever use Google Plus? No, I do not. I was always really pissed off that Google forced a link between YouTube and Google Plus. So for the Campodian PM wants to Punch expats. I had not seen that. That is an interesting thing to want to do. Ooh, Mimsy's waking up. You gonna go back to sleep? Everyone wants you to be happy with me. Yeah, see, she wants a scratch. She wants a scratch. Yes. See, this is why everyone loves Mimsy. Toriani would be behind eliminating pedos. Well, see, I would defer to Dirty Harry on that one. In I think it's the third Dirty Harry movie, Magnum Force, where he finds out there's like a vigilante squad in the police department, and he tries to shut them down. They're like, "I thought you'd be on our side, because you're Mr. No Nonsense." He's going, "No, no, you guys are actually going in for extrajudicial executions." And the trouble with that is you start off with a very clear idea of who the bad people are, and you feel vindicated in dealing with them. But history shows us it tends to spiral out of control, and it gets to the point where you're going to shoot your neighbour because he let his dog shit in your yard. So yeah, you can start off saying, "I'm going to get rid of the pedos." The trouble is, there is an enormous number of people out there who equate being gay directly with pedophilia. So if you start saying, I think we should get rid of the pedos, be very careful of who agrees with you, because some truly awful people would say, yeah, that's a good idea. It's just they would start to include people on the death list that you wouldn't necessarily. And you're not wrong about the number of pedos in various church organisations either. David, yes, yeah. Doug Cameron. Well, back to talking about Senate estimates in Australian politics. There are a couple people who don't put up with shit. Doug Cameron, who's actually Scottish, he's an Australian citizen, but he still has a strong Scottish accent. So he is sounds pretty funny when he talks. And Penny Wong's just awesome. Locust Trooper, I have visited the Philippines. An ex who was born in the Philippines went over and visited her family at one point. I was in Manila for a while. Then we went up into the mountains, Baguio, which was really nice because it's above the heat and humidity and pollution. It's quite nice. I would I'd quite like to go to those beaches, Boracay, like with the white sand and the blue water. They look absolutely amazing. I'd love to do that. Um, was he went to school with a guy who's in jail for raping 5 chicks that he met on Tinder. Yeah, I'm glad he's in jail. But yes. Oh, you think I don't know. Oh, David, if you work with fillers, you got to get used to food. There will always be lots of food. Oh yeah, Locust. I really like the Philippines. Like we were together for a while, so I know family. Got to know quite a bit about Filipino culture. Used to go to fiesta here in Melbourne. So yeah, it was good. 24. Big question. Why does the church protect pedo priests when there's news pedo scandals all the time? Don't know. Don't know. Don't know why they do that. It's pretty bad though. Shatma, come to sunny Brisbane. Aren't you getting like tropical storms at the moment, Shatma? It's like uh, pretty much. All right, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I was saying about David Philo. I did visit the Philippines, and it was fun because I was there with locals with family. So I think, in all seriousness, I was there for a couple of weeks, and I think I saw maybe half a dozen white people the whole time because we weren't going to tourist places. So I was not seeing any white people. So it was like a real holiday. Um, uh, but the little kids were really funny because I was fascinating to them. because I was taller than everyone. First time in my life, in a room full of adults, I was the tallest one in the room. That felt good. And also because I'm a huge fat bastard. So the kids were calling me Gigante, which is giant, because I was big in two ways compared to everyone else. And the kids were fascinated by me. And every now and then I knew I'd have to get the adults to translate something, because the kids would say something and the adults would burst into hysterics. And and I say to the adults, what to say? And the kids are saying, "How did you get so big?" And then, "Why is your nose so pointy?" That was probably my favorite. "Why is your nose so pointy?" Locust, I'm only 5'8". I was 5'8", and I was the tallest person in the room. But my personal favorite, because most of the kids, they were like preschool. They hadn't actually learned English yet. They all learn English at school. The older kids learn English at school, and one of them was asking me all questions, like they wanted to know where I'd come from, because they hadn't got the stage where they're studying geography at that point, and they're saying like, "Well, where do you live?" And we're like, "Long way away." And they said, "How far are you?" And they named a suburb that was the other side of Manila, which they don't often go that far. They think that's a long way. And I went, no, it's a lot further than that. So then they thought, oh, they had like grandparents who lived out in the provinces, the country area, an hour or two away. And they said, "Do you live out there? Because that's a long way." I said, "No, it was we're from so far away, we had to fly to get here. We're not from the island. We had to fly to get here." And this one little girl puts in a big bit of thought. She thinks hard. Who does she know? And because the Philippines is made up of an enormous number of islands, and she had an aunt who lived down sort of at the southern fringe of the Philippines in Mindanao. And she said, "Did you come from Mindanao? Because my aunt flies from there. That's a long way." We went, no, Australia's further away than that. And the look on this kid's face was like, whoa, further? Is there something further than that? That's amazing. It was so much fun talking to these little kids. They were just awesome. "5'8" is not tall. I mean, thanks and all. I mean, even bloody hell, my 17-year-old son's taller than me. He's probably about 5'10". My daughter stopped growing at about 5'6", but she's still taller than all her mum's family. So, but yeah, God, my son is like 5'10". I say, "Yeah, you want to be a media superstar? Just go to the Philippines, because you're like taller than everyone." But yes. Right, sorry, I see what we're going about. There's good and bad in everyone, people. Ah! Yeah, no, I like that. It's like the innocence of kids saying, "You should come and do a sleepover," saying, "I can't do that." Yeah, you could sneak in. So if the parents don't want to, no, that's worse, kids. That's worse if I sneak in. Locust Trooper, 5'8". I think for my generation, uh, uh, 5'8" was average. Subsequent generations are a couple inches taller. Oh man, John, 6'5". Holy fucking shit. Man, it must be so expensive for you to buy clothes. That's the first thing I think of. Like 6'5". You'd have to go to specialist clothing places all the time. Like, that must be so expensive. Bureau, if ever want to listen to a fun tabletop podcast, suggest the Adventure Zone. Oh, cool. I don't ever listen to podcasts. Thank you for the suggestion. I don't listen to podcasts at all. I don't know why. That makes me kind of weird in the modern world. But I don't know. David, 6'2". towering over me, buddy. Holy cow, 6 inches tall. Oh, the heretic, you're more my size, 5'9". Oh God, Mofo sign. Q&A is about population growth. Look, it's an interesting question that gets a lot of stupid discussion around it. What's population growth in and of itself is not a good or bad thing. It's the urban and economic planning that goes along with it. Because if you don't grow your population, you're going to have the right planning to make sure your economy doesn't collapse. And if you do grow your population, you have to have the right infrastructure and forward planning, which I don't know about anyone else's government, but our government's really shit at. Locust Trooper, I wish I was 92 kilograms. I was 92 kilograms when I started YouTube like 12 years ago. And now I'm about 10 kilograms heavier than that. I need to get down to about 80. And I've been really stuck there. But I'm starting a new job. I've had no routine for a couple months because I haven't been working. I'm starting a new job on Monday and I'll be back in a regular routine, which I actually find easier to manage. Toriana, still waiting for an Angry Aussie podcast. You could just listen to my long videos. It's weird. It's like people say I should do a podcast, and yeah, I get it because I do like to talk. I do like to. Maybe look. There's a friend of mine. Actually, someone I've never met. So it's a Twitter friend, but she is a mutual friend of a real life friend of mine. And she, among other things, is a fucking talented artist, but also does video game design as well as like physical art. And we've been talking for ages about getting on videos, whether to do a live stream or maybe we should do a podcast because she'd be a good talker. John, I saw that report from the BBC, the UK saying they're going to expel Russian diplomats. Shit's getting real right there, isn't it? It's kind of like Trump's foreign secretary, Secretary of State, finally getting sacked because he's famously called, everyone knows he called Trump a fucking moron. And he got sacked, but just after he criticized Russia. Whoops. Mofo sign. Ooh, big question. Should income insurance be mandatory like superannuation? No, I think, and you like this one, I think a basic income should be mandatory. I think big fucking companies that are ripping billions of dollars away from everyone else should be fucking supporting the population. 24. What do I think about North Korea backing down? At this point, no one knows exactly what North Korea is doing. Will North Korea really de-escalate? Will they really scale back their weapons program? Who knows? Is this just going to be a propaganda thing for North Korea? Who knows? Maybe something good will happen. I don't know. Who can tell? I can't. The heretic saying, why hasn't the US switched over to metric? That's a question the rest of the world asks. Why you haven't switched to metric? Tori, I'm like you. I do feet and inches for height, but kilograms for weight. And I don't know why, because that doesn't make sense, but I just do. John, you're saying this feels like the Red Scare all over again, blaming Russia for everything. I think you raise a valid point that we have to be careful that we don't fall into this Russia is the boogeyman responsible for everything. But they seem to be responsible for a lot. Just saying, they seem to be responsible for what cracks me up with the control and influence they have in the US now, just by flattering and buying off a right wing like Trump. It's like, man, they must be kicking themselves after wasting decades trying to sway the more progressive left wing people in the US with ideology. And all they had to do was buy off the conservatives, and they would get the conservatives defending them. I think that's hilarious. They've made more inroads with Trump in the last 2 years than they did with leftists in 30 years of Cold War. It's like fucking hilarious to see it. The heretic, will Russia kick off World War III? Well, look, if Russia keeps trying to expand its territory, like taking over more territory in Ukraine and other neighboring states, how long does everyone else sit back and let them do it? I don't know. It's pretty fucking complicated. Locust Truer, do I think China and Russia will take over the USA? Depends what you mean by take over. Do I think they'll be more influential on a global scale, on an economic sense? I think China this century is in the ascendant. The US is in decline. There's no two ways about it. It's like, 19th century was England's, 20th century was America's, 21st century pretty much looks like it's going to be China's, not Russia. Russia's actually too much of a basket case. Russia will have some influence, but I think the evidence that we see now is China will be the big influencer. Hilarity. It'd be funny if Oprah wins the 2020 election and Putin puts off World War III after she talks him out of it on the Oprah Winfrey effect. Hey, look, it could happen. That's what I'm saying, John. Russia's not an economic world power. They're a political power, but not economic. But China is an economic power. David, you're saying Putin's not an idiot, he's smarter than Trump. Mimsy's smarter than Trump, okay? Mimsy is less easy to fool than Trump. Mimsy is also less dangerous than Trump. It's like, that's like a super low bar. So I'm smarter than Trump. I hope so. I hope everyone's smarter than Trump. The two things. Oh, that's what was it, Mofo? Humanity's had a good run. It's the cockroaches' turn next. There's a really good film, late 80s, early 90s, called Miracle Mile. It had Anthony Edwards, who was Goose in Top Gun, and he was on ER for years. When people talk about nuclear war films, everyone remembers The Day After, which was a pile of shit. But Miracle Mile was really unsettling, because what happens is a guy leaves a bar and the public phone outside the bar rings, and he just picks it up, and this really frantic person's saying, "Dad, Dad, Dad," and someone's dialed a wrong number. They're trying to talk to their dad, and they're saying they're inside a nuclear bunker and the nukes are going to fly, and you've got 60 minutes or something before the nukes fly. It's somewhere. So, and he says some code words, and then there's some gunshots, and the phone gets dropped, and then someone picks it up and says, "Who's this?" Because, "I don't know, dude. I just answered a phone booth." Because it's just a prank. Forget it. And hangs up. And he's all spaced out, and he goes into the bar and tells people what happened. He goes, "Yeah, it was a prank." But then he said the code words, and this woman at the bar said, "Wait, what? What were the codes?" And she goes, "Oh no, I was banging a guy who worked for NORAD. Those are real codes. Those are actual real launch code words." And oh my god, it's true. And so the whole movie then plays out with tension going higher and higher. Like, is nuclear? And this guy's trying to get to this girl he fancies to tell her he loves her before the world ends. And it turns out it is real, and all the nukes launch, and it's all bye-byes. And the final thing, they're trying to escape in a helicopter, but it goes down, and she goes, "Oh my god, are we going to make it?" And Anthony Edwards goes, "I don't think so. I think it's the cockroach's turn now." And it's just like, yeah, the 80s, man. We all thought we were going to die. The 80s are back. Oh, John, when I say the nuke codes, it wasn't like the codes to launch a nuke, but it was the internal language that meant it's happening for real. And it's also probably not real. It was a movie, right? These things probably aren't real. But it's not like it wasn't codes where you could call up and say, "Hey, blah, blah, blah," and then someone would launch. But it was the words they used when they said, "Yeah, the birds are going to fly for real." But it was a really good movie. I just spoiled, but you probably can't even find it on video anywhere on demand. But it's pretty good. But so man, use Fat Boys from Fallout, so it's not bad for everyone else. Tara, about War Games, the movie. Oh, War Games was a cute movie. Young Matthew Broderick playing noughts and crosses with the computer, but it didn't have much emotional depth. Miracle Mile really fucking hit me hard at the time because it felt horribly plausible. Threads. Toriana, someone who's seen Threads. Yes, the UK made two scary things about nuclear war. One called Threads, and what was the other one? And this was made in the BBC commissioned it in the 60s, and it was so fucking horrific they never aired it. And I saw it in the 80s. Like, someone smuggled out tapes from the BBC, and a commie teacher from my school showed it to us. It was black and white, and it was a fake documentary of Britain in a nuclear war, and it was really good and really unsettling. And trying to think, what was it called? I can't think of. Actually, I'm going to see how good my Google foo is if I go BBC nuclear war doco 1960s. What comes up? War game. That's my Google is strong. I put that. It's just called The War Game, and it was really unsettling. Because it was done in the style of a documentary, as if it happened. It was awful. John, it was filmed just near your school, and they showed it and messed you all up. Yep. Oh dear. Yeah, what's wrong with being optimistic? Be optimistic. I want there to be people in 1,000 years looking back on the 20th and 21st century and going, "What the fuck? What the fuck was wrong with those people? Why did they make such dumb decisions? We're so lucky we eventually made the right decision." It was that whole period through the 20th and 21st century where they could have ruined everything. I never apologize for being optimistic. I'm all for it. I mean, I probably don't sound optimistic a lot of the times, but I'd never smack someone down for being optimistic. But yeah, my favorite one: 3D printed nukes. Well, we haven't. 3D printing revolution hasn't quite taken off yet. I still think it could. I mean, obviously, there are people who 3D print working handguns now, which of course makes them totally untraceable. And 3D printing is just going to get more sophisticated. Like, mostly now, it's plastic based, uh, But the machines that use metal, essentially, they use powdered metal and 3D print metal objects. They're getting better and cheaper. So then you'll be able to 3D print metal guns. The Heretic, who would I rather support, the Legion or the NCR? I don't know who either of those are. Jahatma, Aboriginal, you're in Aboriginal TS studies, talked about identity. I said identify as a 21st century person. Everyone agreed identifies that. Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting concept that you're consider yourself a person of the time rather than of the place. I reckon you're on to something there, quite honestly. The Heretic, no, I've never played any Fallout games. So I do not play very many games at all because I like them. They take up too much time. Recently, I've played Grand Theft Auto 5, Yakuza 0. I tried to get into Doom and Wolfenstein on the PS4, but I just couldn't get into them. I am playing Zelda Breath of the Wild on Switch at the moment. But yeah, generally, I like games. Are you going to leave us now, Mimsy, or are you just stretching? But they take too much time. But making videos and having a life and a family and a job takes up a lot of time. So something has to suffer, and so I don't play games that often. I like that, Safa. You can 3D print food now. There are 3D printers that use sugar and that use a sort of wheat base. So you can 3D print food now, but you'll be able to 3D print good food in the future. Shabba, you got through gender, race, sexuality, hypothesizing stuff, and everyone got a massive talk about the idea. You can stand for oh, look, dude, I think you're seriously onto something, starting to feel that you're a citizen of a time rather than a place. Because, yeah, I think that's got legs, quite honestly. Yeah, Toriana, replacement organs is something people are working on. If you want a fun read, I think I always mention this guy. Cory Doctorow is very good at speculating in his science fiction writing. He has a book, it's quite a few years old, maybe 10 years old now, called Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom. And it's set in a post-scarcity future, basically like a singularity future. But it's where you have essentially like 3D printers can create anything. So nobody is deprived of anything because you can produce anything at any time. And he has a lot of fun exploring that idea that then the work, because you don't have to work for money, so you work for prestige. So people are just trying to get people to think they're really cool for the work they do. And it's a very interesting read. I like most of his stuff. He also has some good young adult stuff about an oppressive police state. The first one's called Little Brother, as opposed to Big Brother, about kids in America fighting back against the oppressiveness of the surveillance state. Generally, his stuff is a good read, I think. The Heretic, you want to go full Borg, ditch this frail human body for a mechanical alternative. There's a lot going for it. Jatma, you're saying when we look back, people who fought in World War II in the Victorian times, colonial times, Roman times, yeah, the Industrial Revolution, and like I say, scientists talk about the Anthropocene era. We're in an era where the biggest influence on Earth is human activity, and that's the last 200 years. Prior to that, natural forces dictated what happened on Earth. We're now at a stage where human activity has controlled what's happening on the planet rather than the planet controlling human activity. So, yeah, who knows what the future will bring. My baby lion, Mimsy, I'm going to sleep. You just like attention. No, she wants to sleep. Want to sleep? You want me to scratch you? No, 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 yes. I think she does want a bit of a scratch. Yes, she does want a bit of a scratch. She always comes into my bed at night and hassles me. She does this thing that makes me laugh. She climbs up next to me on I'm trying to sleep, and because my arm's out there, and she literally just comes and headbutts my hand. She's like, no, you have to pat me, and she headbutts my hand until I pat her and scratch her little head. She's a little bit demanding. Pat talks, how many platinum trophies do I have on PlayStation? Ooh, a little bit of follow through there. Just trying to gross you out. None. Yeah, no, I'm not a very dedicated gamer. Like I said, I used to really like the first person shooters, so I got Wolfenstein and Doom for the PlayStation 4. I only got PlayStation 4 last year. And I just haven't been able to get into them. But I really like the role playing, world building things. Although they're different games, they've got a commonality in them. I really enjoyed, as I said, Grand Theft Auto 5, Yakuza 0, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. So yeah, and Mrs. Angry is playing because she really enjoyed Zelda. She doesn't game at all, but got really into Zelda Breath of the Wild. When she finishes, well, what do I play now? And on various people's recommendations, we went Skyrim for the Switch, and she's really into Skyrim. So maybe I'll play Skyrim next. I don't know. Safa, do I think the US poisons other countries' food stock? No, I don't. I guess it's not impossible, but you ask me if I think they do it, and no, I don't think they do it. Because that would be pretty evil. It's not the US hasn't done evil things, overthrown democratically elected governments, backed death squads, been directly responsible for the deaths of millions of people. But I don't think they poison people's food stocks. Oh God, I'm going to talk about genetically modified foods now, because that's such a vague term. It's like talking about organic food. What does that even mean? Because everything we eat has been genetically modified through selective crossbreeding of things. But now of course we have companies getting down to the cellular level and modifying food in labs, and sometimes to do quite evil things, like Monsanto, who are a bunch of assholes, genetically engineered seed stock that for farmers, this will be very bountiful and it's bug resistant, but you can't save the seeds from it. See, farmers are traditionally like, okay, I harvest 3/4 of my crop and I keep a quarter for seeds for next season. These genetically modified seeds will grow you a great big crop, but you can't save any seeds from them because they won't germinate. They've been genetically modified to not germinate second generation, which is fucking evil capitalism in my book. So I don't worry about genetically modified food is going to make me sick. I worry about these big, frankly, quite soulless companies are going to genetically modify foods to the point where they completely control the economy, because they're fucking scumbags and can't be trusted. And if they get rid of seed stock, like farmers can't save seed for the next season, that you're reliant on these companies, then you end up with this monoculture, which is history has shown us is horrifically susceptible to an infection, whether it's a bug or a fungus or a mold, where if the entire food supply can get wiped out. And so it's bad on a number of levels, but it's a fairly classic example of how fucked capitalism can get, in my opinion. Corn engineered to be addictive. Tobacco, a la The Simpsons. We'll have some tobacco. But yes, so I'm always very wary when anyone gets into discussions on GMO, genetically modified organisms, because it's the conversation often goes off track. Like I said, I don't believe that genetically modified foods will make you sicker. I just think there are lots of examples of it being the most evil permutation of capitalism, basically. Yes. My favorite seed banks. Oh, look, see this. Mrs. Angry is a very keen gardener. She's in the Diggers Club, and these people are seed savers. So Mrs. Angry grows stuff for fun and for things, but I think they tend to call them heritage ones. Like I don't know. Like there's a lot of flowers in here. There's veggies as well. Like this one here, silver beet. You see, you get silver beet in lots of different colors, not just the green one that they have in the supermarket. And Mrs. Angry tends to grow a few different sorts of tomatoes and cucumbers. And seed savers are awesome people. You say, Tara, there's a case in West Australia where Stephen Marsh had a certified organic crop. It's corrupted by his neighbour had a genetically modified crop, so Marsh lost his certification. Yep, that's another complication that can happen. There's all sorts of weird shit that can happen. Heirloom, that's the word, Toya, not heritage, heirloom. And because, you go to the supermarket and you basically see maybe 3 sorts of tomatoes, really 1 sort of carrot, maybe 3 sorts of lettuce, but there are dozens of variants of tomato, dozens of variants of lettuce and carrot, and all these different colors, and with different tastes, and they're quite amazing. There's only these dedicated people are keeping all these heirloom varieties alive. You're right, Mofo. You're talking about the Doomsday Seed Bank. There were some worries because it was in Antarctica, which was meant to keep it pristine and frozen and safe. But because of climate change, water seeped into it, and they were worried it was damaging Doomsday Seed Bank. You're right, Megaleech. It's not just orange; it's purple carrots. Yeah, Dr. Papa Bong, black carrots. But yeah, yellow carrots. There are basically a lot of variants, and people are surprised at how many variants there are of tomatoes. Because you like going to the supermarket, and you got your standard tomatoes, and you might have Roma tomatoes and cherry tomatoes. Well, that's all the variety I need. But there's all these other ones. Some are green when they're ripe. Some are black. Black ones have a really sort of earthy taste. But there are all these different varieties of veggies that dedicated people are keeping alive. La Heretic, he asking, how many trees do I think it would take to absorb enough carbon dioxide of a planet like Venus? I'm talking about terraforming. I think if we ever got to the point where we could terraform, I don't think we'd do it with trees. I think we'd either use a completely artificial form, or we'd use things like algae or moss, something that you could grow really fast over a really wide area that would convert the gases in the atmosphere to have more oxygen. I don't think it would be, I don't think, if we went for a natural terraforming, I don't think we'd use trees. I think it would be moss and or algae, because it grows faster and change things faster. That's the thing. I mean, supermarket veggies tend to not have much taste. The heirloom varieties have much more taste. But, you know, they've got to cater to a mass market, because with the supermarkets, the biggest thing is drive the price down. So it's grow a million of these. Don't grow a few hundred of these and a few hundred of these and a few hundred, and have all this weird stuff. No, just grow a million of this one thing. Charlie, yeah, if we a Genesis device. So I think humans will end up with an artificial terraforming. But yeah, maybe, like I said, if we went natural, it would be moss or lichen rather than trees. Well, I think if you talk, okay, so Larry, you're talking about a planet that had too much carbon dioxide in its atmosphere, like it's otherwise habitable for humans, but too much carbon dioxide. So we wanted to put plant life down there, which would generate oxygen, which could consume carbon dioxide and generate oxygen. And if this planet had no plant life doing that, you have to think about Earth in the pre-industrial age. I think you would have to cover at least 75% of the land mass with oxygen producing plant life, which is why I brought up algae, because then you're not limited to the land masses. You can put algae in waterways, but of course there's always a danger algae goes out of control and chokes up waterways. So, you know, we're more likely, even no matter how advanced our science gets, we're more likely to fuck things up than fix it. I mean, you know, I think I mentioned earlier that people should be optimistic. I'm not being very optimistic. Whenever I think about what humans are going to do, I think humans are probably going to fuck things up. And I'm just going on evidence with that. My first time, we should have a smaller population that's better educated. Well, that's okay. But who gets to nominate how the population gets reduced? Because there are very serious people in the world who argue for wiping out like a third of the planet's population, and you know they're not volunteering wiping out. They're going to come up with the lesser people. They're going to come up with the lesser people who need to be wiped out. So people who are into that are normally really fucking dodgy, in my opinion. Ooh, one of my favorite writers is a guy called Warren Ellis. Mainly writes for comics. He's written a few novels as well. I've read one of his novels, which was pretty fucking good. But he writes both sort of indie stuff. He's very famous for one in the 90s called Transmetropolitan. But he writes mainstream ones as well. He writes superhero comics as well. But he's quite famous for doing edgy stuff. And he had a series which was really good. It's called Global Frequency. And the Global Frequency is like this sort of secret organization that picks special people to be part of the team. They have expertise in different area. That their goal is to save the world at the last minute, like when something terrible's happened. And it would be perfect for TV show. And apparently this has been optioned for a TV show multiple times, and there's been a few attempts at pilots that never got anywhere. But it's great. If you like comics at all, or just like good writing, find Global Frequency, written by Warren Ellis, and each story is basically the Global Frequency team saving the world, but for really different things. And one of them was this automated program of the governments that got kicked into life because of an accident, and it was designed that it can't be shut down once it started. And what part of it was these orbiting space stations that were designed in a critical time, if stuff's going terribly wrong, to wipe out whole cities. And but not nukes, because nukes are dirty and poison things. These orbital space stations, they are using gravity-based weapons. The weapons on them are basically carbon rods that are catapulted at Earth, or like fired like a bow and arrow, but these really long, incredibly hard, dense carbon rods that are fired, and they go with such velocity, by the time they hit the ground, they explode. You know, the heretic kinetic bombardment, you've heard of this stuff. They hit with such force that the explosion is on par with a nuclear explosion, but there's no actual explosive material, and there's certainly no nuclear material. And yeah, the Global Frequency team are trying to disable this system that can't be disabled, that's going to launch kinetic bombardment on Chicago. And if they don't stop it, it will absolutely destroy Chicago. Yeah, Warren Ellis likes to write about fucked up stuff, basically. And this whole thing with I brought that up because this was about population limitation. This was a particular government initiative that said there may come a time when we have to drastically cut back on the population, and they have all these satellites that target all these different cities, and the one that's targeting Chicago has accidentally been fired up and can't be stopped. Celtic King, we should exercise together. Exercise? So, dude, you're kind of so on track when you say exercise, you know, I pumping iron. I'm not completely sure where you want to go with that. I should exercise because I'm lazy as fuck. It's so funny, like Troll says something, you're fat. And I went, wow, it's so lucky. It is so lucky that I have you here to tell me that, because I don't have any mirrors in my house. So, and I don't see myself on video. So I'm completely unaware of my physical appearance. So, wow, lucky I've got you to tell me. Yeah. But that's the thing, like, Heretic, this story of Warren Ellis's was based on a real proposal. You know, as you say, whether it went ahead or not, we don't know. You're saying it's tungsten rods, and his ones, they're carbon fiber rods. This is without doubt an actual real proposal that was made, or orbital space stations that would fire down these super dense rods, that the velocity of which would cause mass devastation. So it was just, what? Don't, she does that. She sits next to you on the lounge on my bed and stretches and sticks her claws out. It's like, no, don't do that, Mimsy. That's right, John. Railguns. Railguns are basically massive physical bombardment. Yes. Stuff is like Road One. Yeah, except that's like a laser weapon. That's the thing. I often watch. Okay, I don't mind Star Trek. Mrs. Angry is a real Trekkie. She and her son did a little bonding thing where they watched all of Star Trek in the chronology of the Star Trek universe. And it's fun. And like, one of my favorite things about Star Trek are the Borg. They're like my favorite bad guys. I really like the Borg. But there are a couple of logic holes with the Borg that are really annoying. Like, okay, everyone on Star Trek uses energy weapons, and the thing is, the Borg, they adapt. Like, when you kill a couple of them with your energy weapons, their death is transmitted back to the collective, and the collective works out a strategy for nullifying your energy weapons. And it's like, oh no, now our energy weapons don't work on the Borg anymore. Well, don't fucking use energy weapons. Use projectile weapons. What fucking defense are they going to magically come? And sure, they could start wearing bulletproof vests, I guess, but you just use Teflon coated bullet. Use fucking projectile weapons. And people say, oh, you can't use projectile weapons on a spaceship because they will punch a hole in the spaceship and suck you out into space. And go, well, that's not the worst thing in the world with the Borg. But also, we already have armaments. They're basically soft, so they hit the intended target, blow a hole in them. But if they keep going through, they won't even go through a wall. If they hit a wall, they'll just squish. So they'll hit the first target, but if they go right through, they won't even go through a wall. We actually have armaments now that would comprehensively take out the Borg. And I find it really annoying that they suggest that there's no solution to it, and that just annoys me. Oh no, Celtic King's talking about exercising in your birthday suit. Oh dear. One of those sorts of gyms, is it? Oh dear. And then we all get to show. Totally left field. But is anyone familiar with rugby union at all? And the tradition with rugby players after a game all getting in a big bath together, like a big spa. And rugby union has traditionally been like the rich toss game. And where I went to uni, the rugby club was very dominant. And they were also, at least they were outwardly really homophobic. Um, and they did this thing where they shower and spar together after a game, and it's like, okay, guys, I'm not quite sure how getting naked together and being homophobic works, but okay, do it, whatever. Celtic King, you want to see AIDS naked? Well, all you have to do is watch Code Grey, because he goes full frontal in Code Grey. So, fortunately, there's no close-ups because the scarring on his thighs from when he had the Fournier gangrene is pretty horrific. I do have a video up of he and his co-star in Code Grey in rehearsal, just looking at photos of his scarring on his thighs and trying to describe what it looks like. And this looks kind of like burns. Also, kind of looks like a shark has just been chewing on you, because there's big lumps of scarring on his thighs about this big, and it's really rough, and it's like not neat or clean at all. Ah, sorry, Emma's in here. You say that ATL nude up at the drop of the hat. By the way, those with long memories for the Angry Aussie channel, Emma is Mistress M, and we are going to start seeing her again on my channel. Emma and I have been talking on the Facebooks, and I was meant to put up a video this week, and I didn't. I got distracted by other things, but I will. I've got to put up a video with Emma saying basically, Emma will be in for advice videos for people who need their life sorted out. That's going to be coming up again on the Angry channel, because I've so missed that out. Emma, please remind me. I've got a fucking mind like a sieve. I forget things I'm meant to do. But I'll probably put it up this weekend, actually, a video saying, among other things, Mistress M's going to come back. Emma's going to come and give you advice. Sort your shit out. Old as fuck video, 8 years. I don't know, Em, when did you go to Adelaide? Was it 8 years ago or was it 5 years ago? The Heretic, M could give you advice on just about anything. But yes, so I will be putting the announcement up video soon, probably this weekend. I'll probably talk about other things, but also talk about, hey, look, 6 years. 6 years you moved to Adelaide. Okay. So we used to do them every week when Em lived here in Melbourne, but now we're going to try and do it at least once a month. Celtic King, we have even some of the old videos. We have great advice on bum sex, and both ways. This is where AIDSy got to you. I swear to God, the whole reason the Mistress M videos came about. No, this is not a distraction, Emma. This is our normal live stream, jumping topics all the time. The whole reason the Mistress M videos came about is Emma did a show in the Melbourne Comedy Festival, God, I don't know, 10 years ago, which was called Fuck, a Love Story, which talked about sex and sexuality. And there were a couple of killer lines in it. And I just talked to him at the time. I wanted to do some videos just to use the best lines from that show. And we're talking about anal probing, basically. And there was the line about if you're going in, you know, if you're gonna, like with a finger or whatever, you do it gently. You just roll it in. You're not landing Thunderbird 1. So we've had advice about bum sex before, but we will do it again. Oh God, Pat Talks. My best year on YouTube was when my best time, and it's disturbing to say, I was better off on YouTube 10 years ago than I am today. I don't adapt to change very well, I guess, and I'm not very good at self-promotion. But when they had like localized things, like if you logged in with an Australian IP address, you would see Australian content, and you could search by the video with the most comments or the most thumbs up or whatever, which you can't do now. And I was getting heaps of new viewers and heaps of new subscribers every week. And YouTube dumbed down the interface and just pushed the stuff that was already popular and ignored everything else. Yeah, new viewers fucking died for me. And and this is my fault. I have not adapted to those changes at all. I need someone who's good at promotion to work with me because I'm really shit at it. Back in my day, before all these newfangled changes, but yes, talking about the stream community, that now I've been doing these live streams for the last 6-12 months. I fucking love doing these live streams. They're so much fun. Speaking of which, time's up. It's 10 o'clock. It's time for all good boys and girls to go to bed. So thank you all, as per usual, for joining me. You've all been wonderful. You always are. And I will be back again anon. I'll try and have a video up, pre-recorded one either tomorrow or Saturday. Like I said, I am going to do I think I'll do a separate video with an announcement on Mistress M returning, or the advice videos returning with Emma. But I hope to see you all again in the comments on those ones and on the next live stream. Thank you all for dropping by. Oh, you're doing an Oz history video soon. Good. When you do, tell us about it in the fucking live stream, okay? I love yous all, in the words of the immortal Jeff Fennick. Take care, everyone, and I will catch you later. Bye now.